And welcome back to the last of the Marvel Netflix shows. I still have to find something new to watch after this. My hair's a mess today. Let me see if I can fix that up real quick. That's a little better. And so, last but not least, we got Jessica Jones season 3. Now, I've been on record saying that among the Netflix shows, Jessica Jones fell into kind of like the middle ground for me. Like Iron Fist, bottom of the barrel, hands down in my opinion. Like Defenders was middle of the road. Luke Cage was a little above Craft. Well, not a little above Craft. Like the first season of Luke Cage, great. Jessica Jones, it's in the middle. It's in the lower part of the spectrum. It's not the bottom of the barrel by any stretch of means, but I never really dug on Jessica Jones as much as I did even like Luke Cage or Iron Fist, or especially Daredevil and Punisher. And I think that a lot of that comes from the character of Jessica Jones as a whole. The character of Jessica Jones, I do get what they go for with her. She's a PI. She's like the, she narrates, and they do a lot more of the narration, amazingly, in the third season than they did in the first season. Because the first season, they start with it, and then they kind of just abandon that, but they do it a lot more in the third season, which I'm like, okay, just pick a freaking tone. I get you wanted to start with this, but you didn't like continue thoroughly with it, and now you're bringing it back. You can't have it both ways. You got to do it one way or the other. So that was always, I always just found that weird. Interesting. But the character of Jessica Jones, I get she's an abuse survivor. She was a cantankerous even before she was an abuse survivor because of the situation that gave her powers. She kind of just doesn't have the greatest personality in the world, but we're supposed to root for her. Why exactly? That is kind of the issue I had there is, why are we supposed to root for her? Because she's going up against worse people? Okay, sure, but not. But I mean, I don't like Danny Rand that much, but I'd root against, and I frankly would root again more for the villain sometimes with Danny Rand than I would for Danny Rand, at least in the first season. Second season, he got better. But with Jessica, it's like, yeah, I want her to do well, because we do see the better parts of her personality shine through on occasion. But she still doesn't do a good job of being a good person all the time. I say she's rude and cantankerous and just gives lip for really no reason sometimes, other than the fact that she's angry at the world and stuff. And season 3 didn't help with that. Now, let me get over some of the high points of season 3. I do think season 3 is better than season 2. I do think that, because it kind of brings Jessica back more to the roots of what we got in season 1, which was, I think, the best season, because Kilgrave's the best villain. And just because Kilgrave sold it, absolutely. But season 3 was a step up from season 2, carrying over the plot points from season 2 into season 3. And the fact that they all finally, one of the things I will definitely say I enjoyed was the villain. The villain of season 3 is, I mean, take out Kilgrave. He's the best villain Jessica Jones has had. Is he one of the best Netflix villains? I mean, you got Kingpin and Bullseye. Those were great. Cottonmouth was damn good. The CIA, don't remember the CIA's name, but Billy Russo and his handler, I guess we'll say, in season 1 of Punisher was pretty damn good. Actually, I would put him in the upper half of the Netflix villains, definitely, because it's Jessica dealing. It's among the most realistic of the Hell's Kitchen villains we've gone against, but to that enhanced degree, because she's going up against a legitimate serial killer, who's, I don't know the actor's name, but I didn't check before I did this. I could check right now, but I'm not going to. It seems like he's playing a combination of Dexter and almost trying to do his own version of Fisk in some ways. It's very interesting and very effective at how he's playing this character. He is playing it very intimidating. this is a guy who's unhinged. Like if you weren't someone who was already a little out there yourself, like you're like not afraid to die, or you're just like, okay, laughing in his face because, whatever. Yeah, this would be a guy who would creep you out beyond belief. And his whole ideology about the whole, cheater, the world's full of cheaters. And I'm here to balance it out. Like, yeah, sure, right, whatever. And Jessica, rightly so, calls him out on that crap. It's like, no, you're not. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to yourself. You enjoy it. So there is that, which I do, because there's a scene where she finally just, calls him out on that crap. And it's a really fun cat and mouse kind of game that they're playing in the season. He nearly kills Jessica twice, almost 3 times. And there goes the computer about to say that my battery's low. But yeah, I'll get this done before I have to put it back on the charger. It's a fun cat and mouse game. Where that story ends, I see. There's negatives about the season. There's positives. So his whole story arc his whole story relevance and character, I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed Eric, the other super who we find is like he can sense evil. He can sense the darkness in humanity. And it gives him like a headache. And the greater the evil, the greater the headache. Closer he is, the worse it is. I loved that. I actually really liked that character because it was someone that Jessica could relate to in a different way. Someone who didn't ask for the ability, but got it anyway. And he's similar to Jessica. He's not someone who tries to play the hero. He's someone who just tries to get by with a gambling addiction and all that. So, and as the season progresses, it's him coming to terms with, can I do good? Should I do good? And where he ends up with that, I liked how that paid off. It's like, yeah, that's a fitting conclusion to that guy's story. I also like the fact that, Jessica always seems to get a hookup in each season. She hooked up with Luke Cage in the first season, hooking up with the guy downstairs and his kid, who they're not really seeing each other after anymore, which, that was a thing. Now she was hooking up with Eric a bit, so good for them. I do like the fact that she's getting out there. By you want to talk about an interesting little factoid here? Look at each series and tell me which series do characters get laid the most. Like in every series, someone got laid. Like in Daredevil, Foggy got laid. And we see Matt got laid. Punisher got laid, Billy Russo gets laid, all that, except for Defenders. No one's getting laid in Defenders. Even Danny gets laid in Iron Fist. But it's Jessica Jones, the whole PI noir stuff, where people are just having a lot of sex for some reason. Like I can count 3 different people getting laid in this season. 4 different people getting laid in this season. Multiple times. So I don't know. I was watching it. I'm like, I realized like, wow, people get laid a lot in this series. It's like, all right, sure, whatever. Human needs. It's all good. But yeah, it is one of those things that, wow, I actually, where the story ended for that and where she's coming from and all that. I think I was trying to go with that whole sentence. Oh no, Eric, that was it. Eric I was talking about. I lost track of what I was saying when I said that. Yeah, no, I really like that character. I thought that was a good character. And he's a well written character too. Like he messes up, but he acknowledges that and tries to make amends, which is really cool, I think, which is really good. The Hogarth storyline also. It's like Jessica Jones is part A about Jessica and part B about Hogarth. Let's be honest. She's like a co-lead for some reason. And her storyline's continuing from the other season where she's still got ALS, like the guy that didn't get rid of, and she's dealing with it and tries to reconnect with someone. And that's fine, but I was wondering where that was going. I'll admit, that just kind of capped off on a quiet, unfulfilling note. Okay, so let me get into a lot of stuff that I wasn't particularly fond of, or I just didn't like, or things I just had problems with. Right off the bat, the Hogarth scenario. I'm like, okay, so she wants this woman back in her life. She met this woman and realized that she loved this woman, but a long time ago, but she didn't, she cheated on her and they've been separated, and she's basically slowly but surely manipulating her way into this woman's life to try to get her back, and it ultimately doesn't work. Look, I'm watching Hogarth, I'm like, you still kind of, Hogarth's fun in a way, so entertaining to watch because you're wondering how is it going to work out for her, but Hogarth is just it's clear there's a human in there that does care on some level, but she still is completely all about herself at the end of the day. Her needs, her desires, her wants, her fulfillments, and the means to that end. No matter how she tries to slice it, she can't seem to, no matter how many times she says it to herself, she can't seem to get past that part. Or idea that she's trying better. It's like, doesn't matter that she's trying to be something more. The fact is what she is. And the fact is what she is that she's a greedy, conniving, self-centered person. When you really break it down, she is more concerned about number one than anyone else. And the fact that they introduced the whole idea that when her ALS gets bad, she has pills. Basically, she'll commit suicide. Is what she'll do. She'll just take her own life, but she doesn't have the balls to do that. So early in the season, she's asking Jessica to do it for her, give it to her without her knowledge. But that I feel like that should have come back into play, where the Kith is the name of the woman she was in love with. Kith leaves. Excuse you, puppy. Jeez, you get these nibbles. Got these nibbles. Think words here. Kith leaves, the woman she was in love with, and it's like, you're the last mistake I'll ever make. And then and then she's just kind of sitting there alone, like, I feel like we should have seen her look at the bottle, and then it should have cut to whether or not she took the pills or not. And if there had been a season 4, would have found out. I'll also say this, like, that her husband, the Kith's husband, was a piece of crap. Honestly, I love you. You were stealing money to pay your girlfriends, your open marriage girlfriends, mind you, but girlfriends, rent from your dead daughter's charity. And you are blaming Hogarth. I mean, you got exposed by Hogarth, but he commits suicide in a tub, slits his wrist and stuff like that, records a video before he dies. Like, and he's like crying and stuff like that. It's like, you did, like, I actually agreed with the whole concept. Like, I'm sorry, you can blame whoever you want, except it doesn't matter. You did it to yourself. And now you're taking a freaking coward's way out. Like, oh my God, you were actually a really shitty person. It's like, but he still loved his wife. He shouldn't have done it. It's like, yeah, he shouldn't have done it, but he still did it. That's the problem here, is he still did it. It doesn't change the fact he did it. So yeah, and it's like, now he's like, I'm so sorry. It's like, yeah, you're sorry because you got caught. Let's be honest. You probably were never going to tell your wife, because he said, I was going to tell you. He's like, no, you weren't. Don't give that bull crap excuse. Like, I was going to tell you. Yeah, because you got caught, you're going to say you were going to tell her. I just couldn't I did not like that. As cool as it is for me to say, the guy kind of got what was coming to him after doing that, because that was just cheap, dirty. Malcolm is still around, and look, I get it. He's suffering from a moral dilemma, and like, he's got a beautiful girlfriend. They're living together, and he's got to work for her as a fixer, which means he's got to do some shady shit. He's the reason the guy, got exposed. I want to say I like where he ended up at the end, because he realized that he's not an evil person, but he realized he's not a totally good person. He's a gray area person, and he knows he's got a lot to make up for. He says that. And you know what? My battery's getting pretty low, so we're going to do a tracking shot as we continue moving on. So, yeah, so he ends up in a pretty good, for the character, I think, a pretty good spot, recognizing his mistakes, and basically is going to atone for those mistakes. So, I do like where that character ultimately ended up, but, I'm sorry, I dropped some things here. There we go. Ultimately ended up. At the same time, though, I'll admit, while I do like where he ended up, the amount of effort it took to get there was not worth dealing with. Because it, it's the issue of he's he's clearly conflicted, and that confliction is causing problems. And the more he doesn't tell the people who need to be told what's going on, the more it's going to bite him and those people in the ass, which it does. In fact, he ends up accidentally cheating. It was like, yeah, he was an accidentally. He kind of did. He like the girl, the daughter, the sister of Eric, who's like a hooker and had problems, but she's better. Ends up repaying him in a way. And he doesn't stop her, but it's not like he it's not like he initially wanted it, so he ended up cheating on his girlfriend, which I'm looking at, because if I'm looking at his girlfriend, I'm like, no way, I don't care how I feel, I'm not letting that happen. It's like, did you see the woman you're with? Holy crap. But at the same time, I do get where he's coming from. Like his girlfriend, I can't remember the girlfriend's name, because I rarely remember these characters' names. Like Salinger, I remember Salinger's name. He was the serial killer. But the girlfriend, I'll admit, the girlfriend did have some unrealistic expectations of him. Like, she wanted him to try to be the person she thought he could be, but ultimately not realizing what he realized about himself, that he wasn't that person. That's not who he was. And he can't do what she wants him to do, because that's not what that requires pretty much kind of costing him some of his soul a little bit, and he couldn't do that anymore. And honestly, she comes back to like kind of reconcile, but at that point, you left him. No, actually, you left him, and he even lied, and he even says he lied about why he couldn't be with her, because she didn't want to know that he just cheated on her. He didn't want to fess up to what he did, and see the horrible person he really was. So, sorry, the glow. That's the light coming from Luna shining on my very pale hand. I've got the Iron Fist. Wait a minute. How white can I get my... Yeah, glowing. The Iron Fist, yeah. Powers! Magic. Anyway. So yeah, but let's talk about now at the almost 18-minute mark, the big thing about this. Trish and her relationship with Jessica. And this took a really weird roller coaster ride, because Trish was passable as a character for me in the first season. Not great, but I didn't hate her. I kind of didn't like her at points, but I could get behind her at other points. Season 2 really did a great job of making her really loathsome, in my opinion. Like, you were not supposed to like Trish in season 2, to be honest. Season 3 starts off where it's like, okay, she still doesn't get it. It's like, you need time to understand this, and I can't hurry that and all that. Like, she sends a note to Jessica, and I'm reading because it's being read out loud. And I'm like, it's like, Trish still doesn't get it. You killed her mom in front of her. You shot her in the face. Well, in the head, but in the face. And you're wanting Jessica. At one point she said, enough times, Pat. I think she said something along the lines of, "Can't you forgive me, or can't you just let it go?" Yeah, can't you just let it go? It's like, and Jessica even gives her a look at, you shot my mother in the head. Your mother was, and Jessica later admits it too. It's like, I'm sorry. It's like, because they eventually reconcile, which I was amazed by. It's like, I'm sorry I shot your mom. Not a good enough excuse, but I'm sorry I shot your mom. It's like, and Jessica admits, I'm sorry my mom was a mass murderer. Yeah, it's like, Jessica admits her mom kind of became a monster. She did. But she says, like, I had my mom back. Something that was lost, I actually got back, and you took that away. It gets a little brought up in the final confrontation, but what never got addressed when trying to get through Trish's thick, stubborn skull was the fact that, okay, yeah, my mom was probably going to die. My mom needed to be put down at that point. Why was it? And she keeps saying, I had to do. It's like, no. Someone had to do it. Like the cops would have probably put her down. Cops would have put a bullet through her head. That would have sucked, but I could have lived with it. Why did you have to do it? Not someone, you. And they do finally get to that point of like, because her mother, who basically gets caught by Salinger and tortured, and like, oh yeah, I forgot the little bit I learned about the way that story ended. Like, yeah, no, she got killed. Dorothy got tortured and killed. The way that Jessica explains, like, no, the way that self-righteous moral compass of yours that Dorothy basically hammered into you, that it's always been there, basically. Like you feel like you are the special one. And when the minute I realized where it was going to go downhill was the minute I saw that, yeah, no, she's not content with doing it from behind the scenes like Matt is. Like Matt, even though the Devil in Hell sketching got a lot of publicity, he never cared about his name. He did it because it was right. He did it because that's what he felt was right. Trish was an unfortunate combination of she still wanted the glory while also, doing the deed, trying to do good. The problem is that she didn't understand the concept of the world is not black and white. The world is a large shade. Don't get me wrong. If we're representing black is evil, white is good, screw it. Let's go the opposite way. Black is good, white is evil. For these new modern times. But anyway, if we're representing that one is good, one is bad, that is entirely true. Good exists, bad exists. But the gray is there too. That moral ambiguity that Trish couldn't understand. That she couldn't understand why she would make a deal with a serial killer to protect her. And she couldn't understand why. She couldn't understand these things. And so it eventually gets to the point where she takes a life thanks to the help of Eric. And he even says, the world's a little better now. And unfortunately, she takes that as, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to kill people that are bad. Unfortunately, that makes her grow, as he put it, she went darker. It corrupted her. And she couldn't see the fact that she had become the villain. It wasn't until that very last scene, and I'll admit, this is a great scene, but I really wish there wasn't one more conversation with Jessica and her or something like that. Just one more conversation where she's just being interrogated, and it's like the officer, who actually, I didn't realize that character was gay. Because I vaguely remember that character from, I think, the second season. But I didn't know he was gay, which I don't care. Actually, if anything, I actually like the fact he was gay. I'm like, because he doesn't look like a guy. Okay, that's stereotyping. You wouldn't, if you were to say, ask, hey, do you think this character is straight or gay? You would have just stopped straight because he's just kind of the way it is. A lot of time. That sounded. I think you know what I'm trying to say here. It's like he didn't come on. Again, I can't say it right. I can't say what I'm saying. Like I didn't get the vibe. Like, oh, this guy's gay. All right, whatever. But no, I realized, I'm like, oh, okay. Actually, I like that more about the character, quite frankly. Because it's not like he's a stereotypical gay guy. Like, again, the stereotyped, I guess, is or not stereotypical, stereotyped gay guy, where he's a bit more effeminate or something like that. No, he's still actually like a New York tough guy and stuff like that. He just happens to be gay and have a husband, and they were adopting a kid, and so I like that about the character. I did. So yeah, when she's getting that, her all the stuff she's done read to her, that realization dawns on her that yeah, she's the bad guy now. And that realization, you can see that the realization kills her. Like, it just kills her. I'm like, yeah, well, sorry, but you kind of had all that coming. Let's be honest. Like, yeah, you went off the deep rail. You couldn't understand that you were wrong. And this is what happened. Last but not least, I just want to touch on, I like the fact Luke Cage came back briefly. In that conversation he had with Jessica, I dug that conversation. That was a great, if he was only going to come back for a brief scene, that was a good scene. Absolutely. What I am a little sad about, though, and Matt never crossed over into any of the other series. Like, of all the characters in the Netflix series that crossed over, Luke Cage actually showed up in Jessica before he had his own series, but he crossed over into Jessica anyway. So yeah, he was there. Obviously Claire did, Karen did, Foggy even did. Misty did. None of them like the big main characters. I mean, Punisher obviously showed up in Daredevil season 2. Obviously, like Mahoney. So like a lot of the side characters showed up to kind of illustrate the connectivity of the world. I will be flat out honest though. If you didn't give me Luke, I would have liked to have seen Matt show up and Trish have to go up against Matt as the devil of Hell's Kitchen and realize just how outmatched she was. Because that's the thing about Trish's powers. Is she didn't get Jessica's super strength. The best she got was enhanced reflexes, athletics, the ability to jump and, land like a cat. Her nails seemed to be almost like claws. She scratched up Salinger's face, and she had night vision. Her metabolism was probably enhanced too to some degree, but we never got that confirmed. But I'm watching her practice and train, and I'm looking at it as like, this is just something someone who's fit can do. Like, we know Matt can do this, no problem. Sorry. And she's like all happy, like, whoa, yeah! It's like, great. That still doesn't mean you're ready to fight crime. The fact you can see in the dark is cool. The fact you can jump high, or actually, we don't see the fact that she can jump high. It's more that she can jump from tall areas and land on her feet, like absorb the impact. So yeah, I'm like looking at it as like that's great and all. And yeah, you're like a black belt in Krav Maga, which is dandy. That doesn't mean you're qualified to be fighting people or being a vigilante. And it goes to show she did not have the mentality for it because of just her upbringing, the fact that she's an addict, the fact that she's self-righteous, the fact that she feels she's the moral compass. Ultimately, I didn't hate. This was better than season 2. Season 2 really wasn't that good. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but the only really bad series was season 1 of Iron Fist, if I'm going to be honest. Everything else is just kind of lukewarm at best. Or not, that's not true. Everything else was lukewarm at worst, I should say. So, yeah. But no, the final season of Jessica Jones wasn't bad. I could have done without some of it. It could have been handled better, but for what they went with, I think it was all right. It was decently executed. I will say though, how it actually ends with like Jessica just standing there in the train station, or bus station. It wasn't a train or bus, but she was taking a bus station. Like she's just standing there with a smile on her face, like, because she hears Kilgrave, so I was like, let someone else do it, Jessica. Well, okay, what does that mean? It's like, let someone else do it. And you're just smiling, like, yeah, I'm free, or it's like, no, I'm not gonna let you win. It's like, what's the point? I don't know. If we had gotten a 4th season of Jessica Jones, again, I would have liked to have seen Matt show, because those are the two main interactions they had within Defenders. Was Matt was her defense, who was her lawyer, and then she found out who he was. Which, by the way, yeah, I've spoken about Defenders before, but the whole Jessica finding out Matt's identity and stuff like that, I never liked that angle. Like that really was just stupid in my mind. Honestly, he should have just played himself off as a blind guy and let things be. Either way. But again, you could probably chalk that up to writing. There would have been there's other ways he could have easily shown his identity to him. Either way, that's my thoughts on Jessica Jones season 3. And that wraps up the Netflix Marvel series. I do still have to watch Umbrella Academy season 2, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff on Netflix I can watch. But for right now, that's kind of where I end up. Now, luckily, the theaters, my Cinemark, is finally opening up on the 9th. And hopefully it hasn't closed back down like a couple days later or something like that. Because I know like Regal in New York is closing down. And that's a big problem. Because there's no real big movies coming out right now. Because the theaters don't want to risk their tentpole films they know in a good year they could make money on by bringing the movies out into theaters now, losing money, but getting the momentum building up again. Because that's the thing. Tenet came out and it didn't do great, but it still got the ball rolling. If another film, maybe say a couple weeks later, had been able to capitalize on that, we could have gotten the ball rolling a bit further. Honestly, if Tenet had come out and then New Mutants, that might have helped New Mutants a little bit, because New Mutants didn't do well either. And I'm wondering, hopefully, if maybe Tenet and New Mutants might show up at my theater as well. I'll wait on that before anything else. I don't know for certain, but anything's possible. Because trust me, I'll go see them, because I just want to get back to the movies. Honestly, the movie that'll be out this week is The War with Grandpa, which, look, it's the first movie back. At least they'll be able to do some legitimate reviews again. Until then, though, we'll wait on that when it happens. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. And ideas for what win, Star Wars, superhero magic, whatever, anything to do with the channel, put that in the comments below as well. I'll get that at some point. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hit that bell if you want notifications. I'll see you next time.